Well, hello, Stitchy Friends, and welcome back to Jackie Stitches. And it's been about a month since I posted a video, and I've missed doing it. I almost had to sort of relearn how to do this again. But it's always fun. I really enjoy doing this. Um, so happy New Year. And I do have Callie and Maisie with me, but I don't think you can see them. So hopefully they will make an appearance at some point during this video. And I what have I been doing for the past month? Well, we had the holidays, of course, and so that was a busy time. I had about a week and a half off of work, so that was really nice. And I work at a university, and so it's a little slow during that winter break time when students are gone anyway. So that was nice, but all the students are back and classes have started again, so that's also a lot of fun when they come back. I have been stitching, of course, and I have quite a few WIPs to show you. And I've been reading, and so later in the video after the WIPs, I will go through what I've been reading and some thoughts on some of those books. And I turned 57 since I posted the last video. So I'm officially, well, I guess last year I would have been officially closer to 60 than 50, but it really feels that way now. So, but that's good. It feels good to be 57. I think in the last video I said we were possibly going to Chicago to the Chris Kindle market, and we ended up just postponing that or canceling that because it was that weekend we were going to go. I think it was like 5 degrees there. So that just didn't sound like a lot of fun. So we'll go back another time. We already had been there in May, so it's not too far from here, about 6 hours, and we have an airport, so it's a like a 50-minute flight or something. Um, I watched a lot of Flosstube and Flossmas videos over the break. And sort of that's the reason I decided just to take a break because there were so many videos going out and I was having a hard time keeping up with all of them. So I thought I'll just take a break from posting and I'll just watch videos. And that was a lot of fun. And so, on that note, if you do have a floss tube, can you post that in the comments? Because I want to make sure that I am visiting your channel and also share that with the rest of us here too. Um, I have my book of days. I love that old-fashioned term. I don't have the official book of days that I see a lot of floss tubers using, and I use a Hobonichi cousin because I also journal and do some planning in that too. So I'll show that to you here in a moment too. So I also just want to mention that it's a hard time in our country in the US right now, and I have my joyful sweater on, and so that's sort of becoming my mantra um, as we're going into this year, just to find moments of joy and ways to bring joy to others. And while I care deeply about what's going on in our country, and it's heartbreaking sometimes, I think it's important to bring some joy and to find some joy and beauty too. So I hope you'll find some of that here. And with that, let's get started with the whips. Okay, I mentioned the Hobonichi Cousin, which is what I'm using for the Book of Days. And it looks like this. And I get this from Amazon, but you can get it from stationery stores. You can get it directly from Hobonichi. Hobonichi's based in Japan, and I love Japanese stationery, so I'm always looking for that. Um, I'm using this to record what I'm stitching on each day, YouTube notes, and I don't really count stitches. That feels, even though I'm slightly a little bit of a type A person, some people might say I really am a type A person. I don't really feel like I want to count stitches. I want it just to be a little bit more free with it than that, which is kind of out of my character, honestly. Um, but let me show you what this looks like. See if I can find some blank pages. Um, So it has monthly, weekly, and daily pages. And here's the monthly layout. And part of the reason this book can have all those pages is because of the paper. Hobonichi uses Tomoe River paper, which is really thin, and it reminds me of paper that's in Bible, and not exactly the same, but very similar to that. And it takes watercolor really well, and fountain pens, and markers, and so it's really great for journaling. Um, and I also use it for some planning. But here's the weekly layout. It's a vertical weekly. And that's mainly where I keep all my stitching notes and the temperature of the day because I'm doing a temperature stitching this year. And then here are the daily pages. And this is what I use for journaling each day. And then there are also some other pages in it. Like there's a top 100, and that's where I'm keeping track of the books that I'm reading this year. So I've used this for several years. This might be like my fifth year of using it. So it's a nice thing to have to look back at, in later years. So anyway, recommend that if you want something for journaling as well as keeping track of your stitches. And okay, so these WIPs are in no particular order, and just as I grab them out of my craft room. And on that note, too, I spent part of the break combining my office that was down in the basement with our spare bedroom, which now I've turned into my office slash craft room. And I do plan to record in there probably most of the time, but I thought with our winter storm happening today that maybe you could see the snow, but I don't know if you can actually see it. You can see Callie back there laying on the couch. So anyway, we're in here today in my dining room, but I do think I'll be in that room for future videos. And okay, so the first one is kitted up and ready to go, but I have not started it yet. And this one is called Festive Little Fobs Americana Edition by Heartstring Samplery by Beth Twist. And I want to do a few patriotic slash Americana patterns this year for the 250th anniversary of our country. And so I plan to get started on that probably in the next couple months. Another one that I have kitted up and ready to go, but I have not started, is called This is the Day by Plum Street Samplers. And I know a lot of you have done this one. I've seen this so much on Flosstube and on Instagram, and I just love it. And I can't wait to get started. And the colors of this are the colors that I want to incorporate more into my living room. So, it's so pretty. And I love the sentiment on it as well. And so kitted up and ready to go, but I have not started it. I am slightly intimidated by this pattern, honestly. Um, it has been just a year. I started back to cross stitching after 15 years last January. And patterns that I've been doing are fairly simple for the most part. This one has multiple pages, and I have scanned it in to GoodNotes so I can navigate it a little bit more easily, but it is a little intimidating. So, but I do plan to get started on that. This is another patriotic one that was in the Sip and Stitch box put out by Primrose Cottage last summer. And there are two patterns in here that I plan to do to celebrate the 250th. And this one is called America, My Home Sweet Home. And I have gotten started on that. And there's a second pattern that came along with that that I'll try to cover up. And it's established 1776 USA. It's this little pillow. And so I have not started on that one, but I have started on America Home Sweet Home. And I don't think I've gotten any further than when I showed you this last time. But this one is on 16 count Country French Latte Ada. And I just have that center White House started. And it's so cute. I love doing houses. I think some people don't really like doing houses, but I really do like them, and I like fill in because I don't have to really think. So that one started, but just barely, and I have not started the 1776 pillow yet. Or is it a pillow? I'm gonna make it into a pillow. I have a dough bowl that I want to put a bunch of patriotic type little pillows in this summer. Okay. The next one is called Seaside Tiny Town by Heart and Hand. And again, I love the colors. It reminds me a little bit of the colors on Plum Street in a way. They're not exactly the same. Same family in a way. Um, so yeah, I have barely gotten started on that one. And this one is on 25 count potato Lugana, which I really love the color of the potato and the texture of it. So I purchased more of that, so I will probably be doing some future projects on that too. And this is another one that I don't think I've gotten any further on, although I love it, is called Sweater Weather by Plum Street Samplers. And I'm just going to probably put this one away though until later in the summer or early fall. And this is on a 14 count rustic Ada. And I don't know if I remember the company. But it is very rustic, which I think will be look really great with this pattern for the fall. Okay, another Plum Street. I really really love Plum Street. Um, and this one's called Hello Winter, and this is the one I started on linen. So you know, kind of my linen story from past videos. And I have not gotten any further because it's difficult for me. And I might switch it over to Ada. So okay, well, my camera stopped recording, so I'm not sure exactly how far we got with that. So let's just move on to the next one. So I want to show you my temperature stitching next. And I've seen so many of you doing this, and it looked like a really fun project. And I love the bright colors of the project. So I decided to do it this year, and sorry, I got one from Etsy, and it was by Apricotpolkadot, and it's called Small Hearts Temperature Yearly Counted Cross Stitch. So this is what it looks like, or what it will look like at the end of the year, or similar to that, I suppose. And this is how far I've gotten. And so what I am finding is that I am not doing a heart every day. Like I think maybe it's intended, but I'll sit down and do like about every 3 days and just sort of catch up. So, it's like 0 degrees today. So I think today and tomorrow and possibly the next day will definitely have a different color. And this is on, I think if this is antique white 25 count Lugana. So I like the bright, it's kind of a bright white, but it's a little muted since it's antique. Um, so yeah, I think that's going to be a fun project. And I think I'll put that in my sewing/craft room at the end of the year. The other one I'm working on, and the rest of these are some that I'm sort of actively working on now. The ones that I've already shown you, besides the temperature stitching, I am working on every few days. But the rest of them, they're works in progress, but probably won't get to some of them until later in the year. These are all, I'm switching between these just about every day. So this one is called, and I've showed you this one before too, called Joy by Shakespeare's Peddler, and such pretty colors. And this is on 16 count Ren Ada. And so I have made some progress on this. I would say I'm about, I don't know, a third of the way done with this. So I should be able to finish this in the next few weeks. And this is a really special project to me. This is a heritage sampler that I'm starting, my first one. And I think I showed you this in the last video too. I don't know if I'd started on it yet. And it's called Americana Blue by October House Fiber Arts. And this one I am doing in honor of my grandma Nyla. And she was a quilter and she sewed and she did crafts and lived in a big 2-story house for the majority of my life. Um, and so I thought this is perfect for her. And I actually am really enjoying the single color. I think I said in that last video I wasn't sure I would like that. But especially when I'm just watching TV or doing something, it's actually really nice to not have to think about switching colors. So I'm not too far, but I have made some progress. And this is going to be a pretty big project. Let's see, focusing. Um, there we go. Um, this fabric is pretty large. This is a 16 count Ada, and let's see if I can figure out which color it is. This is also Country French Latte Ada 16 count. And between that and the Potato Lagana, seems to be my favorite color of fabric. So yeah, I'm excited about this one. I think it's going to be really beautiful and so meaningful when it's finished. If you've done a heritage sampler, I would love to hear about that and let us know which one you did. And so the last two, is it two? Yeah, we have two more. I have a very, very minimal start on this one, but but besides the heritage sampler, this is the other one that I'm probably the most excited to work on. And this is Flea Market Flowers by Lori Holt. And just beautiful. I love all the bright colors. And it's just really my jam. I love bright colors, always have. And I am not far on this at all. So, um, in fact, I think I have a turnaround. So again, I start in the middle. So this is the start. So hopefully the next time I am here, I'll have a lot more done on that one. And the final WIP that I have is called Berry Basket. And I think when I showed this last, I had not gotten very far because I was not enjoying the fabric. It's a 14 count Ada, just a white. But it has softened up a lot since I started working on it. Some people like really firm, stiff fabrics, and I really like soft fabrics. Um, but it has softened up, so I've been enjoying this. And so and I want to try to do a finish like this. I'm not real comfortable with finishing. I do have some sewing skills, but I'm not very confident in my skills yet. So I'm going to try to do something similar to this, and we'll see how that goes. All right, so I am pretty far in this. I would say I will get this done. I could possibly get this done during the snowstorm. That's sort of the plan. So it's not ironed or anything, just out of the hoop. But I changed a lot of the colors on this because I used the white fabric. When I picked out the fabric, I wasn't really thinking about all the white that was in this. And as you can see on the pattern, the bowl is white or the basket is white. There are white flowers that are more like daisies. Um, and I've done all different shades of pink for the flowers. and I actually kind of think I like it better than the original. And then I did the basket in blue, and so that was kind of fun, picking out my own colors and trying to figure out how I want it to look, and so that I've been enjoying doing that. So that is it for my whips. And I know that's not as many as a lot of you have, but I think this is manageable. And I think, well, I don't know. I was going to say, I think this is probably what I'll be working on most of the year. But what I've found is probably most of you have found is that buying patterns is part of this hobby. So, and fabric too. Um, so I don't know. We'll see in my next few videos which ones I've end up purchasing. Of course, Nashville Market's coming up, so that will be fun to see all the new patterns that are coming out there. And I plan to go to some of the virtual retreats that Lindy Stitches is putting on. Of course, there are always exclusives at those. So no promise. This is definitely not going to be a no buy year for me. But I do think most of these whips will keep me busy for the next quite a few months. So that's the plan for now. So I look forward to seeing some of your stitches on your floss tubes. And again, please post those down below if you have a channel, because I would love to visit you there. And next, I'm going to talk about the books I've been reading. So if you're just here for the stitching, I will see you later. And if you also enjoy books, stick around and we'll talk books next. Okay, so let's talk books now. And I'm just going to talk about the books that I've read since probably early December, because I don't think I've talked about any in the last couple of videos. And when I say read, a lot of these I listen to as an audiobook. I find that I listen to audiobooks more than read these days because of stitching mainly. Time that I would have normally spent reading, I am stitching. So audiobooks are great to listen to while I'm stitching or in the car or cooking dinner or exercising. And I count that as reading too. So it's an escape no matter if you're listening or actually reading it. Um, so I say read however suits your fancy. The first one is called The Widow by John Grisham, and I'll just post photos of the books up here instead of trying to show them all to you. And this one is about an attorney that, um, kind of a struggling attorney in a small town practice, and he takes on a client for um, to do her will, and there's some reason to believe that she has a lot of money, and she dies sort of unexpectedly, although she was, I think, in her 90s, if I remember right. And this lawyer is accused of her murder. And so the majority of the book is him trying to prove his innocence. So I really enjoyed it. I love John Grisham books. They're easy to read, and they usually hook me right from the first few pages. So if you're a fan of John Grisham, I highly recommend that one. The next one is called The Second Story Bookshop, and I seem to be always attracted to these bookshop um, novels. And this one is by Denise Hunter. And this is about a girl who inherited this bookshop from her grandmother, but then found out at the reading of the will that she also, or her ex-boyfriend from many years ago who broke her heart, um, inherited the other half of it. So they have to find a way to work together. And so it's pretty good. I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads. Um, it, there were some slow parts, and so actually not sure why I didn't give it 3, because usually when there are slow parts, I'll give it 3 stars. Um, I somewhat recommend it if you like bookstore novels. This is good for that. Um, the story is sweet, and so yeah, it was pretty good. Not a raving review. The next one I read is called A Cross Country Christmas by Courtney Walsh, and I listened to this right around Christmas. And this is about a a girl who, or a young woman who is afraid to fly, so she ends up catching a ride back to her hometown with her brother's best friend. And she thought he had, sort of a big ego and was arrogant. And I don't think she thought really highly of him and didn't think he was a very nice person. But they have a pretty long road trip, and it has a sweet story about why he's on the road trip and um, their relationship, how it evolves during that road trip. So this one was really good. I really enjoyed this one. And the next one that I read was called Evie Drake Starts Over by Linda Holmes. And I loved this one. I gave it 5 stars. And this is about a young woman who lost her husband, I think about a year before. And she just hasn't really moved on with her life. And her friend has a client who's a major league baseball player, and he asks her if he can come and stay in her extra room or apartment that's in her large home. And although she's reluctant, she agrees. And the baseball player has sort of lost his game and needs to get out of the spotlight. So this is a really good story about kind of like second chances, and I really like those types. I really do recommend this one. This one kept me interested from beginning to end. I listened to this, but I couldn't put it down, so to speak. And another one I read or listened to right around Christmas was called The Christmas Joyride by Melody Carlson. And it's about a young woman who has a neighbor who's in her, gosh, I think she's 85. And she has decided, the elderly neighbor has decided to take her RV and make a road trip to Arizona and stop along the way to give Christmas joy to people who had won a contest on her website. And the young woman has kind of run into some hard times, so she goes along with her. And it's just about what happens at each of those stops and how they bring joy to people. And it was a really, really sweet story and kind of what I needed at the time. It was kind of right after Christmas, and that's always sort of a downtime for me. So highly recommend that one. And then the one I'm reading right now, and I'm actually reading it, not listening to it, is called Bookshop of Possibilities by Andrea Severson. And Andrea is someone that I found on YouTube. She's a English instructor and has a YouTube about writing. And I do some writing myself, so I enjoy following her journey as a writer. But she has self-published quite a few books, and I do like to support indie authors. So this one is really good. About a young woman who has inherited a bookshop from her grandmother. And I've just sort of gotten started with that, but so far she's already met the neighbor, which is always a good sign, the handsome neighbor. So I really do enjoy romance books. A lot of people like books with a little more substance than that, and I do read some of those occasionally, but especially in the time we're in, I really just like sweet stories right now. So I find myself reading cozy mysteries or romance most of the time. So if you enjoy that as well, I hope you'll check out some of those books that I just read. And if you have any recommendations, I would love to hear those as well. So thank you for stopping by. And if you made it this far after this reading segment, I really appreciate all of you who are commenting and subscribing. And if you're new, thank you so much for visiting. I hope if you enjoy this video that you'll like and subscribe and all those things. And I really do appreciate every one of you. And every time I see that subscriber count go up, I'm just sort of astonished that someone would want to subscribe and want to come back. So thank you so much. I really do appreciate this community is wonderful. So with that, I think I will sign off and I will talk to you soon. Bye.